Hello there. If you've been watching my content for a while, you'll know that I personally have a bit of an issue with the lack of accountability for local government officials and elected officials in particular, because that's kind of how our law is set up. In October last year, we saw nearly 200 candidates running who were sexist or racist, misogynistic, spreading misinformation and disinformation. They would have been absolute nightmares to have as an elected official. Like this dude, Keith, for example, who ran an upper hut, who this week put out a video about how Hitler wasn't so bad after all. Can you imagine him being the one making your decisions? But the law that we've got in place at the moment that is designed to try and put in stops and checks to keep people on a level playing field, it's really vague. It was written a long time ago, and it didn't really account for a lot of what we see today in terms of how we live, the sort of technologies that we use, pretty much everything. What it does state, though, is that every council has to have a code of conduct, but it doesn't have to be the same code of conduct. And how each council polices that and what the outcomes are of actions that are brought against code of conduct is completely unique to every single council. This week, though, LGNZ, with their super local conference that they're currently holding down in Christchurch, well, they decided to fix that. You see, there was a report that came out in 2021 that actually suggested setting up a third party arbitration organisation that works with local councils to make sure that people are held to account when they do something shitty. So, for example, if you have, say, Ryan Hamilton in Hamilton, who is currently the National Party candidate for Hamilton East, going to a meeting of sovereign citizens and trying to calm them down and say, hey, look, I'm one of you, after they've just issued death warrants for other councillors that were in that meeting that they ran out, the punishment should be exactly the same across the country. And it's not. And at the moment, it's policed in kind of a really strange way, council to council. This remit that they've passed at this conference in Christchurch, though, goes forward to set something up that would create essentially a national standard of behaviour expectations. In very, very early days, of course. But the idea is that it doesn't matter whether or not you are somebody in Hamilton that's going to these sovereign citizen meetings or a councillor in, I don't know, let's say Southland who has a radio show where you're telling people that you want the government to break into other people's houses in other parts of the world to stop them from migrating here and stealing all our jobs, even though you're a migrant yourself. You see where I'm going with this? We have candidates and councillors out there that are problematic, that cause issues. And having some kind of third party arbitration means that you've got a universal standard that they have to live up to do their job and meet the expectations of voters. And yeah, there is definitely potential here for people to get a little bit shitty and I don't like this person, so I'm going to ask for them to be investigated. But by having set standards in place of what the rules are and what the punishments are, and those punishments could be anything from losing communication tools all the way to being kicked off council. And that's a big, big step for obvious reasons. But sometimes having those incentives there to behave well and to do your job properly are exactly what we need, which aren't in place universally at the moment. So big ups to LGNZ for doing something like this. It is a step in the right direction. I can't wait to see how this evolves and exactly how it's going to be put into play. It's really good to see an organisation like that stepping up and going, right, we need to take the reins to make sure that people have trust in the process and trust in the people that are elected to represent us.